Hi guys, happy Thursday. So today I'm going to talk to you about regrets. As we come up to the end of the year, I'm sure most of you or all of you maybe are thinking about the year, what it's been like for you, whether you've had a good year, bad year, things that you wish that you could have done differently. I have been in that mind space lately where I've been thinking about this year. 2024 for me has been a particularly hard year, mentally and emotionally. And there were a couple of things when I think about this year that I have regrets about. Now, it's a really strange thing because up until probably 4 or 5 years ago, I would say I didn't have any regrets about anything that had happened in my life. As I've mentioned on other videos, I've gone through childhood sexual abuse and I had 20 years of trying to recover from that in the aftermath. And while I didn't wish that to even happen to my worst enemy, I could see out of my experience that I was able to learn and grow into a resilient and strong person. And going through that, there was nothing I could do about that. It happened to me when I was a child. I had to deal with the aftermath, but I wouldn't say that it was something that filled me with regret. I was sad that I had to go through it, but nevertheless, good came from the bad. But with these two particular situations that I'm talking about, and maybe in another video I will share the two things that I'm talking about, I do have regrets in part about missed opportunities in a couple of these things that I have regrets about. Not responding to things quick enough, and seeing the aftermath of that and seeing how those regrets have made me feel, especially in the last part of this year, has given me a lot of food for thought. But coming from that place of having regrets and feeling disappointment and feeling, let down about myself, as always, I'm trying to find a way to move past regret. And there are three things that I have been thinking about so that good can come from the bad of these situations. Now, the regrets I have about these situations, there's nothing I can do about these situations now. I can't change the past, but going forward, I feel that maybe there are some things that can positively be taken as learning experiences from them. So if you're somebody who is dealing with regrets, I want to encourage you to reflect. That's something that I'm doing. Reflect on what caused the regret, why the regret happened. Think about, what if the situation happened now, what would you do differently? A great way of being able to look at a regret differently and to kind of ensure that that regret, has less chance of happening again, is kind of gaining knowledge and information about that thing. What caused that regret? What would you have done differently? What would I change? That's the type of things that I'm thinking about. The next thing that I would say to you is, as I've said to myself, is to forgive yourself. Hindsight, as they always say, is, I can't even remember what they even say, but people always talk about hindsight as being a thing of being a great thing once something has happened. But when you're in a situation, you're not thinking about, kind of the lasting impact or the consequences of that thing that you're not paying attention to. And I want to just encourage you to forgive yourself, because as the saying goes, when you know better, you do better. I wish that I would have done better, but I realized that I didn't take the time to know better. I didn't educate myself in certain things. I just thought that I had all the time in the world to, sort this thing out or sort these two things out. And it turns out I didn't, because things just happen in life. Changes can happen with people, with governments and all different things. And just like that, the time that I thought that I had to, you know, sort things out and take my time or do things differently was suddenly gone because other things within that circumstance changed. And as I said, feeling that regret was quite heavy and I felt very disappointed in myself. But I realized that I have to forgive myself for the decisions that I made. You know, that's the great thing about when you learn from mistakes or failures or regrets, is that, you know, it's an opportunity not just to think about the things that you need to reflect on, but it's also a way of learning and growing. And I forgive myself because I, you know, made that mistake with that regret, and I just have to move on from it. I have to forgive myself and come out the other end of this experience wiser, you know, taking from those situations things that I can learn. And the last thing that I would say is, the last thing that I would say is to think positively about your future. Even in spite of the things that you've got regrets about, still think positively of your future. Don't use your past regrets to beat yourself up or to use them as indicators of how you might be in a situation in the future. It's very, very easy to let regrets take you to a negative place. I found when I was thinking about my regrets over the last few weeks that it was starting to have a negative, you know, influence on my mind. It started to veer off into other areas of my life, which I'm doing okay in, but because I felt negative about these two things, you know, I started to kind of negatively analyze other areas of my life, which, you know, weren't the areas that I had regrets in. Think positively about your future. Yes, you have regrets, you've made mistakes, you know, things haven't worked out the way that you had hoped. With hindsight now, you're looking back and thinking, I wish I could have done things different. But the past is the past and we can't get that time back. So all we can do is to look to the future and to plan accordingly for the future, using, if those situations come up again that came up with our regrets, using what we learned from them, our reflections, new knowledge, new insight, to go forward equipped in the future in those things. But all in all, as I said, 2024 has been an up and down year, but the positive that I'm taking from it when it comes to my regrets is that I now know better, so I'm going to do better. And I encourage you with your regrets to do the same too.